Oh, hey, I'm Joe Mack. Welcome back to the channel. I just finished Book 6 in the Red Rising Saga. Do me a favor, like and subscribe. You know how that YouTube stuff goes. Now, let's talk Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. But first, I read Dark Age back in 2022, so to catch myself back up, I watched an awesome video called Dark Age Recap Red Rising Book 5 from a channel called Imagine. I'll link to them in the description below. It's a great channel for recaps and more. Be sure to check them out. For the first couple of minutes, we'll start with a spoiler-free review, but in the second half-ish of the video, I'll be talking spoilers because there's some stuff I just have to talk about. I'll be sure to let you know before that begins, so don't worry. Now, Lightbringer was a pretty good-sized book, with the hardcover coming in at about 683 pages and my paperback at 704. For comparison, Dark Age was 758 hardcover pages and 800 paperback pages. And Lightbringer really fit a lot between those covers. I found that the pacing in Lightbringer was absolutely fantastic. I think that 98% of the book is done super well. I don't think a single page is wasted. There's one portion near the end I would say is a bit sluggish, but political machinations aren't usually that exciting in the first place. Story structure was handled so well that with the POV changes Pierce Brown does, I didn't even get whiplash. They were handled masterfully, and to his extra credit, the dramatic irony in this book is intense. One of the biggest highlights was how different information between the characters was handled. Really, really done well. As Pierce Brown does. The battles, any military scene that's going on in this book is breakneck. Tension dialed up to 11, because 10 isn't enough.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
It's fantastic. Even for most of the politically driven conversation portions in the book, it's still going good. I don't think that he ever really struggles with the pacing in these books. Maybe a little bit in Iron Gold, but in Lightbringer, it's fantastic. The POVs that he's chosen structure-wise to use for this book, I think were perfect. I don't think that any of the characters he chose to tell the story from were wasted or were not important enough to be there. No story beats were filler or fluff. Everything was tying up a loose end that was previously planted or was progressing that storyline. I'm going 4 out of 5 for pacing and structure. The character work in this book, spoiler-free, 4 out of 5. I think every character but one was done incredibly well, both in their development and the things that they had to overcome that were thrown in their way. You got your good guys proving their goodness, doing cool, moral, good things. Darrow with his boy Cassius. We start with them. We see how they go from A to B, the decision that Darrow is faced with on whether to make his way back to Mars and get back to his family the way that he wants, or to continue to fight for the Republic that he helped create. Seeing him deal with those decisions and weigh being a father versus being the arch imperator is very interesting. Watching Cassius, this whole book, reading Cassius, watching Cassius, you know what I mean. His redemption arc, the greatest that's ever been. The greatest that ever will be. He's my favorite character. Severo, not my favorite in this book. That's something we're going to have to talk about in the spoiler section, but just, he was the low point for me. Virginia was incredible. In the battle that she is involved in and the role that she plays, it being in her POV lends to so much tension. I loved it. The bad guys are doing bad, doing dishonorable, despicable, cowardly, disgusting, contemptible, loathsome, abhorrent, egregious, heinous, awful, odious, horrible, distasteful, shameful, miserable, villainous, dirty, filthy, no good, low down, rotten, abominable things.
I hate them!
But more on that later. As the penultimate book, or maybe not, rumors that Red God could be split into 2 books have been going around. I think Lightbringer accomplishes the goal it set out for itself, moving the overall narrative and characters in place to bring the story to its ultimate end in the next book. Overall, I'm giving Lightbringer a 4 out of 5. Spoilers, folks. be warned.
You have been warned.
To start, I want to go over a couple of the character moments. I think that the characters were definitely the standout and strongest portion of this book, especially the way that Pierce Brown writes with the different POVs. And I'm going to start low so that we can end high. I'm going to start with Severo. And like I said earlier, I was not a fan of him in this book. I felt that his Deus Ex Machina plot armor was the most errant, borderline offensive part of this story. I know Severo is capable. I know how important he is, but so do the in-universe characters. It doesn't make sense for Apollonius to take him so lightly. Even if he's using Severo just as bait for Darrow, I don't understand how he could be afforded the opportunity to escape, especially the way that he's delivered from the Jackal, or sorry, they're not the same. The Abomination. I feel like the whole thing could have been handled so differently. It instead of Severo being the one who set off the bomb because he escaped to help them, we could have just had Darrow go in and fight Apollonius, and when he started to lose, as he does, I'm not sure. But you could have had her set off the bomb, and then the bomb could have jostled the cell or done something to allow them to get to Severo. I think having him already have escaped, be the one to set off a bomb, also come to Darrow and Cassius's rescue, I think it's cool. I think like it adds to Severo's cool factor, but it doesn't. How he would have gotten out doesn't make sense to me. That's all. My disbelief and confusion is worsened, compounded, and transformed into anger when Cassius, the Chin himself, in the greatest character redemption arc ever, gets the exact opposite treatment. By, of all people, the dishonorable Coward Loon. Obviously, the emotional impact of that transpiring and the effect that it had, not only on me, but other characters such as Darrow and Severo, is significant and story-rich, but, I mean, come on. To finish up with Severo, I also felt it was quite abrupt when his attitude and tone did a 180 after Darrow is tried on Europa in front of the daughters of Ares. Severo's character was the only low point that I had for all the characters in this book. Cassius. The Chin.
Here comes the Chin.
First of all, should have made it past the first round of Two to Ramble and Phil's Got Books. Most interesting Red Rising character bracket, because his character arc of good guy, bad guy, redemption arc, good guy, make him one of the most dynamic characters in the story. I'll die on that hill. You can feel how bad Cassius wants to be a good gold. Some of my favorite moments with Cassius in this book are when he met Lyria for the first time, his heartfelt conversations with Darrow on the Archimedes and at Lorne's old training ground, when Volga sees him for the first time and he does the classic jawline trace, and his mic drop line at the end. I am Cassius Bellona, son of Tiberius, son of Julia, brother of Darrow, morning knight of the Solar Republic, and my honor remains. Lysander. Now that that's out of the way, his character's decline into someone willing to sacrifice anything, anyone, including his morals or his mentors, to achieve his goal of the morning chair, has been a very impactful villain development. He's no Jackal, but being able to have his point of view and brew a burning hatred within my gut is a credit to Pierce Brown's writing and Lysander's truly terrible decision-making. So to finish out with characters, we're going to finish strong. The last character that I want to mention that I ended up loving by the end of this book was Diomedes. He is honor incarnate. Somewhere, honor may be dead, but Diomedes will see what he can do. The battle for Phobos was outstanding. The pacing was breakneck. Even while switching point of views, we don't get disoriented. The tension injected by having this from Virginia's point of view specifically, her stress and watching her try to manage something of this scale for the first time while also worrying about Cavax and missing Darrow, thinking about her son Pax, it makes it even sweeter. And all this comes to a head when they're running from the Minotaur, Apollonius. The scene where Virginia and her team baits the Minotaur into the hallway and traps him in the shield dome, or the dome shield. I'm pretty sure they use both, at least in my book, they called it both different versions, is so good.
So good.
It's absolutely peak. The whole time I'm reading wide-eyed, I'm sprint reading, trying, just my eyes won't move fast enough, waiting to see if they actually take care of this beast of a warrior. I didn't know how it was going to end. And I think it was only like, I think it might have only have been a couple of paragraphs, maybe even the front and back of a page. I can't remember exactly, but I felt like I was reading an entire chapter just waiting to see what happened. Which leads me to this next point. I feel that the way that Pierce Brown writes these characters and writes this story, and something I really appreciate, is that besides Darrow, I feel like every character is expendable. Like anybody could die. And that goes for regardless with how I felt about Severo and how certain cast members just keep seeming to live. Another example is the whole book we're talking about how great Ajax is, how afraid some people are of him. So when he says he's going to go and intercept Victra when she comes to help Virginia on Phobos, I'm like, oh, she's done. Severo's about to get the worst news of his life when he makes it back to Mars. And I was genuinely shocked when we find out that Ajax loses and that Thraxa and Victra were able to take him down. Shocked, honestly. I thought that he was going to take care of everybody. Or later in the story, I think it's chapter 44, when we get that Helios twist. I thought it was going to be a carved Ascamani or maybe an Ascamani slave. But Atlas, I didn't see that coming. And then right after that, we find out that Lysander's men are working with Atlas, that they're Gorgons. I'm getting comboed left, right, 1, 2. The only time that I can recall the pacing struggling was near the end of the book. This takes place after the Lysander v. Atlas v. Cassius fight, the worst part, the lowest part of my recent life, at least. And we get to a section of politicking with Diomedes, Darrow, Gaia, and all the stuff that takes place there. That felt, after such an emotionally driven portion, it felt a little slow. I don't think it was poorly written. I don't think it was ill-timed. It was important. It kind of felt like a drag after I was trying to process what just happened to my boy. Overall, I really loved Lightbringer. I think it was a great book, even though my favorite character died.
There goes Jim.
It did make me feel better that Darrow was having such a visceral reaction over it in story. And I can't wait to hopefully see him get his vengeance in Red God. Well, that's all, folks. Do you want Red God to be one book or split into two? How much do you hate Lysander? Get in those comments. Love ya. Bye.